I want to talk to you today about storybooks. We have such a wide selection of storybooks. Some of them teach lessons, some of them are just for fun, and I want to just show you some that you may not have heard before. Let's start with Jonathan James and the What If Monster. This is a story about a little boy named Jonathan James who has a lot of fears, and this What If Monster just kind of represents those fears in his life. And the What If Monster comes in and says, what if they giggle? What if it's chilly? What if you jump and look really silly, as he's thinking about maybe going off of that diving board? So he goes through the rest of the book and just kind of putting all these doubts in Jonathan's head. Well, Jonathan thinks about it. He's not too sure about this what if monster and says, "No, wait just a minute. I have something to say. After hearing your what ifs all through the day, I hear all your worries, I hear all your claims. But what if you're wrong?" asked Jonathan James. He goes on to tell that what if monster that maybe these things would happen, but maybe he'll have fun and maybe he'll make a new friend. And it's just a really good way of helping kids to kind of deal with their fears and talk about the positive side of taking a risk, which I think we all need to hear sometimes, right? All right, next one I want to show you is called Olga de Polga. This is one that is a little bit deceiving because at first glance you would think this would be a small child's storybook. This is actually a chapter book. It's a beautiful hardcover chapter book about this little guinea pig and the adventures that he gets into. I would recommend this book for fans of Charlotte's Web. Any story that has to do with animals, farming. It's a really sweet story. It's actually by the same author that wrote Paddington Bear. So it's a really high quality story, one that the child can pick up and read a chapter at a time, or it would be a great bedtime read aloud, just to do a chapter a night until you're through the whole story. Great one for the whole family, and lots of different ages would like this one. Next, we'll talk about Bears Don't Read. This is a great one if you have maybe someone who's a little bit reluctant reader, or maybe you have somebody who loves to read and they're not quite sure that reading is cool. This is a story about a bear who loves to read, but the rest of the bears don't think that that's very cool. And they tell him, bears don't read. Well, he gets in these adventures where he wants to learn how to read, but he doesn't know how. He ends up going into the city, which doesn't really go very well because everyone runs screaming, and finally meets a very kind mom and daughter in the library who decide that they are going to teach him how to read. At the end of the story, they're all together reading in the backyard of the mom and daughter's home. So it's a really sweet story. Next is for fans of funny and silly. Blue Whale Blues is a great one. If you have a child that loves like the Elephant and Piggy books, the Mo Willems stories, this is the same type of humor. It's kind of a dry humor, and we just laugh and laugh and laugh in our family with this one. It's about this whale and this penguin and their friends, and for example, he's got the Blue Whale Blues right here because he doesn't know which way his bike goes. So the kids will laugh and laugh and laugh. That's not a bike. And of course, this penguin's so kind and says, "Oh, whale, don't be blue, it's just upside down." The whale felt much better. So they go through all these different things that whale has just terribly wrong. Penguin's kind to him, they fix it, and everybody is friends and happy in the end. So if you like to laugh and be silly, Blue Whale Blues is a great option. A lot of you are familiar with Nibbles. This is our friend Nibbles here. A lot of you are very familiar with him. He has 2 books now. We're not going to talk about Nibbles today because he is quite popular and you probably already know about him. I'm going to talk about another story that you will love if you like Nibbles. This is The Curious Case of the Missing Mammoth. The reason that this is similar to Nibbles is just because of the way the pages are laid out. They're really interactive. There are flaps on the pages. There are look-through pages. Little places where this little mammoth is hiding. The basis of the story is that there's this baby mammoth who runs out of the museum. See how these pages fold out? They're so cool. And this boy is following the mammoth's big brother through the museum to try and find him. Well, as they go through the museum, all these different rooms come to life. And there's all these great facts to learn on every page. So even though you're listening to this fun story and have all this interactive flash, you're learning some really awesome factual information. Like in the aquarium, you're learning all about fish and things you might find in the sea. In the library, you're learning about different books and all these different art pieces, all about aviation history. And this one, so many flaps to lift, so many things to learn, really creative. And of course, in the end, we get the little mammoth back to where he's supposed to go with his mom and dad mammoth. So if you love nibbles, I would highly recommend picking up The Curious Case of the Missing Mammoth. So I hope that was a good little snapshot into some of our lesser known storybooks and that you find one that is perfect for your family.